All right. How's it going, guys? So today we're going to be talking about which Porsches are going up in value, right? Let's say you want to buy one of these cars. The last thing you want to do is buy something that's going to lose value. Preferably you want it to gain, but you at least want it to stay the same at the minimum, right? If you buy the wrong thing, you will definitely lose your butt on that. What I mean by that is probably some of the worst ones through the years have been the SUVs, the Cayenne, the main one, right? So let's say mid 2000s to late 2000s Cayenne, pre-09, pre-08, and even 08, 09, a lot of people had a deep hate for those. Then in 2011, you got the body style change, you got the nicer interior, and so forth. Now, it seems like the GTS will fetch a little bit more money, has a little nicer looking bumpers on it, a little nicer inside, it has a suede instead of full leather. Even then, though, you can still lose money on it. You really got to watch the miles when you buy that kind of stuff. You really got to pay attention to what package it has, too. What I've noticed in the past is cars with tan leather don't sell well. Now, some brands do, right? Lexus always sells well with tan leather. But the Porsche stuff, if it's set outside at all, and it has tan leather, it looks uneven. A lot of times the seats they'll fade to almost like a lighter, not really a pinkish tint, but you could tell it's a lighter shade, right? Almost to a beige instead of peanut butter color. And I have noticed a lot on all the cars, on the Caymans, the 911s, the Cayennes, everything. It seems like the ones that are tan interior, light brown interior, are all the plastic's been sprayed from the factory. Because what happens is you'll see these cars for sale, and I've even seen some Caymans with this on the very back piece of plastic in the back trunk, or even in the front. Well, the front has permanent black plastic, right? But in the trunk, they have that panel. If you set anything in, it touches that. All the tan ones have the paints knocked off and it's black underneath. Unfortunately, in the United States, probably more than half of Porsches have tan interior. I mean, there's definitely a lot more have tan than black, right? And the newer ones, you have the saddle, you have the really dark mocha, I don't remember what the name of it was, really dark brown. Mercedes did some of that stuff too. That's not so bad. That doesn't really have any fading problems. But it's also so brown it's almost black. So you expect that, right? But I've noticed too, with the light tan seats, you get in, a lot of people have blue jeans on, it's raining outside, they'll hop in, you'll get dye off your jeans onto the seats, and so forth. And once you get that interior dirty, we've seen this at BMWs and everything, it's so hard to ever get it to look right again. And a lot of people will go to great lengths to respray the interior with plastic dye and things like that. But that isn't really the right thing to do. Then it scratches off very easily. And very rarely is it ever exactly the right color. You end up with a multicolor interior almost like a damn calico cat, right? And it's just a hard sell. It really is. Now, a lot of you guys always ask about 996 chassis cars. Right now, 996 was at 97 to 05, 06, 911s. You see a lot of those. You see those year 911s, there was a couple of them when I bought this, I was looking at them for 7-8 grand. Crazy cheap. But probably 80% of those had that damn tan interior. Those cars also had the intermediate shaft bearing problem. That was very fixable though. There again, it's fixable for somebody like me, but most people don't have a shop, don't have the tools, don't have the desire to do the job. They have to take it to the dealership. You can't get that done at the dealership. That's stupid. That's an insane money hog at the dealership. You can't do that. But as time goes on, as people start putting out videos of how to change that bearing, the intermediate shaft bearing, the price creeps up a little bit. Now, it creeps up on The ones that have the right interior, the black interior, Tiptronic or not, that all depends on the buyer. It used to be nobody wanted Tiptronic or dual clutch or anything. Everybody wanted a manual. But, after doing some more reading, after experiencing the manual problems on my last black Cayman, breaking the shifter cable, and now Porsche says you got to replace the shifter cable every 22,000 miles, or you could upgrade for the new one for, I don't know, thousands of dollars or some crazy nonsense. As a general rule, Tiptronics on Porsches don't have a lot of problems. They're a really tough transmission. And it's a progressive thing, as the M5 is with SMG. The harder you're into it, the faster it shifts, right? You're babying around town, you click it, and it shifts real easy, and you really are matting on it, you click it through, and it's just pretty fast, right? Not PDK fast, but fast, right? So you have all that too. Most people these days, I would say more than half people these days, can't drive a manual. And that's why when this one came up and it's Tiptronic, it's like, well, if I ever go to sell this thing, at this point we know it's worth $9-10 grand more than I paid for it, more likely, by looking at the market, maybe more. Especially if everything's documented, everything's 100% been done on the car. Worst case, I got to put a transmission in it, $2,500. We're still way in the green, way in the green. Somebody will pay more for a well-sorted car. Unfortunately, as these 996s get cheap and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh owners have them. They start to go downhill. They start to be used and abused like a Honda Civic. And you see that reflect by looking at the interiors of those cars. Boxers are really bad about this. Nobody ever takes care of a damn Boxster. And that's really a shame. They're really nice cars. You could pick up a 97, 98 Boxster for what, $4 grand, respectively. And it's a fairly reliable car. There again, you got to do the intermediate shaft bearing. You have to do all that stuff to it. But hell, that's not really that hard of a job, right? So as far as the Macan goes, I think the Macan's going to hold price. As a rule of thumb, a lot of the smaller SUVs, regardless of brand, hold price. That is appealing to a lot more people. Somebody that doesn't want the bigger Cayenne to try to park if you live in the city, where a Macan is smaller, a little more nimble. You don't need as much power to make it go as fast, and things like that. Now the Panamera, I've been watching the market on the Panamera. It's a strange market. You see them cheap sometimes, but it seems like the bottom rung is about 15 grand, depending on what variant you have of it. And there again, interior color makes a hell of a difference. 4S, S, Turbo S, GTS, and depends on what package you have. A lot of the Turbo S stuff, it does scare off a lot of people because they hear horror stories about those engines. It doesn't really put me off. We have the M5, it's 507 horsepower. That's not a big deal. You could deal with that. It's not like this big scary monster that you don't want to touch at all. It's just not really that way. But there is something appealing to get 500 plus horsepower from the factory. The car you can actually drive and do stuff with, and it's not just total race car. Ordinarily, that horsepower is reserved just for a race car, right? No interior, no comforts. It's all on what you're into, really. My advice is, if you buy, at this point in juncture in time, a 911, it's hard to go wrong on a 911. They've always held value really good. The newer stuff holds value extremely well. The Caymans have been the same value, actually went up a little bit for a very long time, for almost 10 years now. They've been mid-20s, and now you start seeing them high 20s for a good one. And you can't really go wrong with that stuff. The newer Caymans are still holding strong in the 40s and 50s. Anything newer than this is a lot more money. And it was like, yeah, it'd been nice to have a 981 or something newer with PDK. Even a facelift one of these at PDK is exponentially more money. And not near as common either. Like most of them you see is 06 and 07 of the Caymans. And to get 08 or 09, you know, it's not as common of a situation. It's really a lot more solid brand than our BMWs. You know, I've been doing BMWs for years. But when you go to sell the damn thing, you cannot trust it, whoever you sell it to, for it not to break down. Where the Porsche stuff isn't like that. They don't have near the problems. I can respectfully get in this and drive it a couple hours away, 5-6 hours away. Would I get in the M5 or my E90 and drive 5-6 hours away? Well, hell no, I wouldn't. M5 maybe, but your basic BMW, no. No. I know those cars like the back of my hand. No. You're rolling the dice if you do that. So there is a reliability gain you get with buying a Porsche. You're going to spend more money up front in general. Depends on what you get. Overall, it's going to be a better car. You're going to be a lot more happy with it. Not to piss off my BMW viewers here that come over from another channel. At this current juncture in time, that's just the way it is, right? There's no other explanation I have for it. I like both cars. So there you go. If you want to buy a Porsche, buy one of the cars. Don't go with the SUVs. That's my advice. We'll see you guys. Have a good day.